was like a little dabble over here because I was too scared to do something really big. I was a corporate wuss and I made a lot of money and I didn't want to leave and I didn't have a big idea.
Yeah,
So
you had the golden handcuffs of the money you were making, and so like it makes sense. And again, I think that sometimes people find entrepreneurship and then they can do it, but like most entrepreneurs actually do it right from the get because they're incapable of doing anything else. And then there's people like yourself who actually had it there, they didn't know. But most people are entrepreneurial tendencies, not an actual entrepreneur, and that's where they get caught. And you hear the horror stories of somebody right now who's listening and get inspired by you making $1 million a year being a big time lawyer. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go do it, and then they lose everything, and it's not as good. And so you got self-awareness, a big one. So you started to dabble, which I love, and
yeah. And I think I really actually I try not to recommend anything. I just say what I do and like what I learned one way or the other. But I don't think enough people tell you, like, you don't have to quit the whole thing, to your point. Like, I bought a couple businesses on the side, little ones. And when you say bought businesses, people will go, yeah, must be nice. If I was rich, I'd do that too. And like, wait a second. Like, my first business that I quote unquote bought was like less than 10K. This was a little online consulting business. And my second or third or fourth business was, 100K laundromat. Those aren't tiny, but it's not, this isn't a rich person only game. And so I bought those at the side, had somebody else working with me, running them day to day while I was working really long hours. And then eventually I was like, wait a second, this scales. We buy not one laundromat, but we buy five or six, and then we wrap them up, and then we have efficiencies of scale. And so finally I got to a point where I was like, wait a second, I'm making way more money and I like it on the side doing this more
I'm
business.
sorry to interrupt because it's something that I've wanted to, like I've dabbled in myself and was the
Mm.
long-term vision of what I'd want to build on top of Vayner Media, VaynerX. I started the advertising agency to build a private equity firm on top of it. But
Yeah.
but I came up with this term for myself 7, 8 years ago called micro private equity.
Mhm.
And when I heard you just say that, I'm like, yeah, it's like it's almost like private equity as we know it. They go out and buy the big businesses we know. They buy
Yep.
Dave and Buster's or Crocs or things of that nature. Um, Supergoop. This thing is more like entrepreneurial, but the way you were thinking about it, when you're thinking about buying one laundromat, but then get five efficiency scales, that's what I would define as micro private equity. Have you ever thought of it that way? Do you see that? Do you agree, disagree?
Now I see it that way. Back then I was like, I just think that this is an efficient way to get more customers faster.
Right.
So like, why would we keep doing that? But I did steal our private equity playbook.